Welcome back. So at this point, our chicken has been boiled, and here we have chicken that is now cubed into roughly 1-inch cubes, more or less. That's chicken breast. I've taken off the bone, discarded everything else. We have another few ingredients here that are going to go into the pot. Now the pot, you can see, is boiling. It has, this is the broth that has been strained, and we've simply added a couple bit of aromatics in there at this point to keep the flavor going. Now if we take a closer look at the board right here in front of us, what we're going to see is potatoes, we're going to see onions, we're going to see celery. Here we have some more cilantro and extra onions we won't be getting to right now. Now also going into this will be your carrots and peas mix. You can also do this yourself if you like. I was cheating a little bit and got the frozen kind. Now you can see I have some butter, milk, assorted spices, and we will be getting together with the flour, which I keep over here in a nice jar. So we'll be adding some flour, and those of you in the know can see I'm going to be making a roux in a little bit. So let's start again with one thing at a time going into the boiling pot. We're going to add our potatoes first. It's a little bit at a time. No reason to get excited. Now what I like to do, which gets a little bit more adventurous, is use the knife or a large skillet, or a large spatula. But I'm just going to use my hands at this point. I've been doing this a while, so sometimes the heat of something doesn't necessarily burn my hands where, if somebody else in my household's cooking, I'll say, hey, that's too hot, and I'll just come in and pick it up. Not sure how that works, but it has something to do with calluses, I believe, right? Alright, so at this point, you can kind of take a look in here. What we're going to do is we're going to let all of this kind of come back to a boil, and I'm going to add a little bit more water. That chicken stock has been boiled down to a point where it can go ahead and afford to have a little more water added into it. So we're going to bring the temperature up to high, put a lid on that. Now at this point, we're going to do a little switching around. Stand by. Okay, now, here we have another pot. Into this pot we're going to put roughly, let's say 2.5 tablespoons of flour. We're going to let that go ahead and start coming to a nice melt point. Here I have about 3/4 of a cup of flour. Did I say, I meant butter. 2.5 tablespoons of butter. Here's the flour. Let's get that right, John. Alright, so at this point we're just going to go ahead and kind of get that started melting. That's just nice. And we're going to sprinkle the flour right on in there. Now, at a point, it gets a little bit weird because you don't know that I put too much flour. Have I not put enough flour? What you want this to kind of do is look more or less like a paste as you get going. Now, I'm not going to measure. As you guys can tell, I'm not a real big measuring sort of person. So I'm going to let the butter melt. I'm going to let the flour incorporate. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add some other things to this to allow us to definitely get it to a nice consistency where it's smooth. It's allowing itself to interact with our stew. It's going to use as a thickening agent and not be a liability. Now stand by while I get a few ingredients. As I say ingredients, what I actually mean is a few more utensils. At this point, you do not want to touch this at all. Butter is very, very hot once it gets to this point, and the roux is equally as hot. Believe me, I've burned myself on the combination a number of times. Now, the temperature at this point, you don't want to necessarily scald or burn the roux. So you can see where the flame is. I'm going to say let's take it down to about right here. Maybe a little higher. That's about it. We want to brown the roux up, but we don't want to, we're not in a race. It can take its time to cook up. You can see it's kind of blonde still. It's the blonde roux. And at this point, you can add different things to it, make it different kind of sauces. But right now, all we're doing is we are simply coming across with a thickening agent. Although my thickening agent's going to look an awful lot like a bechamel sauce at the end. So stand by while we get some of this done. Now what the purpose of this is twofold. Number one, you don't want to have anything clumpy or thick or, you know, everybody's made a gravy and they come out just with all these lumps in there. Well, here's the way around it. You can do it with a cold roux. You can do it with cornstarch, which is wonderful. But the classic way, you know, is to take butter and an appropriate amount of flour. It's usually equal parts is nice. I like to go a little over on the butter at times. At any rate, you take those two things and you mix them together. And what you'll wind up having is a nice thickening agent. Or, also, same idea, instead of butter, if you had bacon fat, or if you had sausage fat from cooking some sausage, you add this into it. Flour again. You add butter, salt and pepper. You got yourself some sausage or bacon gravy right there. Okay, now take a closer look. You can kind of see how it's starting to get a little bit brown. And you can see where the colors of the, right in here, there's a good spot right there. Now what that's doing on the bottom of the pan, you can see that it's going from the whitish color that flour we all know is, to a nice, almost like toast. You know, and to think about it, it's bread basically. We've got flour. Okay, now at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to come over, we're going to take a little bit at a time here. This is going to get a little crazy. So I'm going to ask my cameraman to step back so he doesn't get blasted with a bunch of steam here. Not that far. That's a little far. But here we go. We're going to add in a little bit of milk at a time. And as we're doing that, we're going to whisk. No need to do it all at once or in one big shot. There we go. Now, since I have gone ahead and used a glass, I can come right into my stock, and I can add that right in, whisking it right along at the same time. Trying not to spill, but unfortunately I did. Now, at this point, basically, what you're trying to do is you're adding enough of this back in to your liquid over here so that you do not have any lumps, so that you do not have any sort of basically little surprises. You're not making dumplings at this point. So you can see, other than what is in there as far as vegetables, our base is very tasty as well. But it's very smooth. So what we can do with this at that point is churn it down a bit. What I am going to do is turn both our base down as well as our roux. Our base, okay, our roux is good. Our base is nice. Now what we can do at this point with the base is go ahead and add in our peas and carrots. Alright, just get as much as you can right in there. Get that off to the side. Better change the trajectory there. Okay. Okay, now what we can do is we have all this lovely chicken. It's been sitting here doing nothing. Well, there's this chance to be here. The chicken is now, we'll give that a quick stir. Now, everybody's seen this stage. That pretty much looks like chicken soup. Everybody's happy. You can throw some noodles in that and be a happy person. Whatever you like to do. Now, here is where it becomes stew. I like, just make sure you get all the goodies out of every dish you're making. So now we're going to add the roux back in. Trying not to splash the cameraman too much. A little bit stuck to the bottom. Try to stay off it so you don't bring it in like right there. But it's already cooked. It's not going to make that big of a difference at this point. Alright. Now we just go ahead and gently stir that because you don't want to break too much of the chicken up that's in there. Now this will thicken as it cooks. We're going to let it cook with the top off for a time. Let it thicken up. If we need to add a little more roux, we may go ahead and do that, but at this point, it's just time to wait and see how it turns out from here. See if we need to thicken up. We will add probably a little bit more pepper, a couple more spices, as it goes. But for right now, we'll just check for taste. The taste is dead on. We just need to worry about getting it a little bit thicker. And again, there's a couple ways to do that, but you can see just in the time we've already been chatting, it's already thickened up a bit. So as the vegetables cook, and as the potatoes get nice and soft, and as the chicken gets a little bit softer, so too will it thicken up. And at that point, we'll come back, put a few final spices on it, and then it's time for dinner. All right, enjoy. We'll see you soon. Okay, well, we are back. Now, the stew has been cooking at this point for altogether roughly an hour. In the beginning, we're at about an hour and a half total. This last step has been about 25 minutes worth of cooking. And if you remember, we took some steps, we added some different ingredients, we added back in quite a bit of vegetables. We also added in that nice, lovely roux. And you can see the consistency we have now. It's nice, it's thick, it's velvety. And here's all of the vegetables and all of the things that we've added. Now, what we're going to do at this point is we're going to go ahead and plate, because we are done. You can see everything that's in there, the chicken, there's carrots, with carrots and peas, celery, there's the potatoes that we put in. And all of that is going to go right into the bowl here. Get a nice bowl of that. Got plenty of extra broth to put on top. And there we have it, folks. That is chicken stew in the kitchen with Chef JB. Have a great day.